All right. Hello, aloha. I'm Fleur with Aloha Money Teaching, and welcome to day one of our back to school challenge. Today, we are going to go over set up our classroom procedures and routines so we can get ready before the kids arrive. Today's goals, we have a lot of goals, kind of have a lot to do today. So, we're first going to reflect on our current classroom procedures and routines. If you're a brand new teacher, just kind of think about what you've learned from your student teaching and other experiences when we do this part. Excuse me. We are going to plan and write out our procedures and routines. We'll decide on our rules, consequences, and rewards that we're going to use in our classroom. And we're going to also plan our own personal routine so that we can work at work the best that we can. All right, these are the workbook pages that you will need. So this is from the Build a Solid Foundation Science Teacher Back to School Workbook for Success. So there are 4 pages that we'll be using. The last page is like just an area for you to write down some notes. And if you got the Teacher Survival Kit or the Ultimate Bundle or the Back to School Bundle, so you have this in the folder, there is a list of procedures. This is something you can write down your ideas. So here's where you'll find it in the teacher survival kit. So it's in the first folder. So that teacher survival kit, I'm just going to explain real quick. So I have all 5 days here. So all the stuff is inside each folder. And then you'll open it up, and this is the classroom procedures list. So it's those 3 pages. All right, so first, we are going to reflect on our past school year. How did it go? So first, there's 3 questions that we're going to answer. What procedures and routines worked in your classroom last school year? What procedures and routines didn't work so great? And then we're going to visualize what we want our classroom to look like when school starts. So you can pause this at any time, write down your ideas, your reflections, and things like that. So let's just talk about it, and I'll kind of work through mine because I am doing this challenge along with you. All right. So what procedures and routines worked in your classroom last school year? For me, I think my beginning of the class routine was pretty good, like with my bell work and kids turning in things. Like they knew what to do when they walked in. They knew what to do when it was time to do labs or classwork and things like that. So they knew how to talk to each other in groups. Some things that didn't work so great. I'm thinking, let's see. One of the things I definitely want to improve for this coming school year are using my end of class routine. So I I tend to get like really in. I mean, I get into the class and what we're doing and stuff like that. That I don't give them a lot of time at the end of class to do an exit ticket. Like it's like, all right, guys, you got to clean up. You got 2 minutes. So I want to fix my end of class routine so that I have time for them to do an exit ticket, time to clean up and pack up, and time to even discuss our exit tickets and what we did that day. So that is something that I am definitely going to fix. All right, and then the third part is visualize what you want your classroom to look like when school starts. So I visualize like my classroom. So the kids are going to always walk into the classroom. They'll greet me at the door. Some kids never do, but a lot of them do. They say good morning or hi. So I want to make sure kids are using their manners and that they go to their seat, like they read the board so they know what they need. All of that, I want it to just be very smooth. So it starts off very calm and the kids are doing what they are supposed to be doing and all that. So just kind of visualize what you want your class to look like when school starts. Okay, so that's the first part is reflecting. Now we're going to go through and decide how it's going to look, because these are the things that we need to teach. So if we know what we want it to look like, then we're better able to teach it to our students. So I would take, if you haven't done this before, take some time. I listed a bunch of different procedures. on this on here. So here, like these are just a few from the beginning of class. So what do you want it to look like when kids enter the room? What does it look like when they unpack their materials? Like where do they put their backpacks? Their water bottles. For me, I have them keep it on the floor as close to they can to their desk. Just one year, I almost fell on a kid's backpack. I was so upset. What does it look like when kids are turning in papers? Do you have a turn in basket? Do they hand things directly to you? What about announcements at the beginning of the day? What are the children, what are the students doing during that time? What do you do if a student is tardy? So they walk in, do they announce it to the class? No, right? Do they just hand you a tardy pass and they get started? Like these are things that they need to be taught what to do. And passing back work, like when it's time to pass back assignments. I have tubs with each class, and last year I had some really neat kids that like to pass back papers, so they would automatically do it. Or I would just put a note on my slide at the beginning of class, like after your bell work, you can pass back papers. And so they would. And so things would get passed back automatically. It was really nice. What about getting drinks? I don't have a drinking fountain in my classroom. I have a bunch of lab sinks and I don't want them to drink out of it. So what's your procedure there? For the bathroom, I would talk to your team and stuff to see if there's a procedure for going to the restroom. Do you have bathroom passes and things like that? How about seeing the nurse when they don't feel good? And procedures for bell work, checking them, grading them. That's something I worked on all year with bell work, trying to find what worked for me. So a lot of times I just have them put a sticky note on the chart paper because I want to make sure that they understood what we did the day before. And then I'll go over it with them all together. Other times I have an actual assignment that they keep all week long, and then I grade that. So it just kind of depends which unit we're in. And then what about their agenda? Like, do they write in an agenda? Do you have it on the board? Like that sort of thing. So those kind of procedures. And so during class, so what are your procedures when they are talking to others, whether they're in front of the room or listening to someone in the front of the room, or if they're in a group or with a partner? How do they listen? How do they speak to each other? Working around the room, do you allow them to work around the room? My students love working at lab tables. So every now and then I'll say, yep, you can work around the room, but I only allow so many people at this lab station. What do you do with kids that finish early? We always have those children. So what's your procedure? Do you have a choice board that they pick from? Do you have a folder of activities they can do? Do they just read a book? So, what do you have them do? What about getting their attention? What's your procedure there? Like I used a doorbell last school year. It didn't work in my larger classes because they couldn't hear it. Do you have like a call response type of thing? So I would have a variety of things, obviously teach the kids so they know that you're getting their attention. And then what about when somebody enters the room, whether it's another student or a staff member? What's the procedure there? The kids obviously will probably announce it. So teach them, if you don't want them announcing it, teach them what to do instead. So it's not a disruption. And then finally, end of class, what are some of your procedures here? So how do you do your exit tickets or your closing? How do the students clean up and pack up? How do you handle like unfinished work or work that's completed? What about an agenda or reminders? Do the kids write them down? And then what are your dismissal procedures? Do they just line up at the door? Do you have them sitting at their desk and you dismiss them by table or by row? So think about those types of procedures. One more thing about procedures. So I meant to show you something from the back to school bundle and the ultimate, or actually from the teacher survival kit and all that. So there are slideshows. Actually, this is in the back to school bundle. It's a template in Canva. I just forgot to have it ready for this video, but I suggest making a PowerPoint for your students about some of the most important procedures that you want to teach, and then use activities to teach the other types of procedures. Actually, we'll go over that more in day 5 because it'll make more sense when we talk about activities. Okay, so once you have all of your classroom procedures, listed and kind of jotted down, let's go ahead and decide on some rules that you want for your students. I know some teachers have like one rule up to five rules. I like to call them expectations. Um, so we're gonna write this down, and this is something we need to teach our students, and list some consequences that you'll use, things you can actually enforce, follow your school's plan to make sure you do that, and what rewards will you use. Be sure these are rewards you can live with. Um, so I will go over some of the things I do. Okay, so for rules, I love this from teaching with Love and Logic. If you haven't participated yet in an Love and Logic training or anything like that, I highly, highly recommend it. They have like these one-liners, and I love what they do. So one rule that covers everything is feel free to do anything that does not cause a problem for anyone else. If that's your classroom rule, the kids will feel like, oh, I can do anything, but does that cause a problem for myself or for the person next to me or for the teacher? If it does, they're breaking that rule and they get a consequence. Or you can do your, common rules like be prepared, um, participate in class, be kind, like whatever rules you decide to do. All right, this is a reward that I do for the class. So I got this. This is from Whole Brain Teaching for Challenging Kids, and they have a lot of great things in their book. And this is one of the things that I've used um, in my classroom. So you can kind of see this is my wall, and each of those are all color coded. Here, I brought it home because I need to add a level. So I just have it here on, I'll show you. All right. So these are all the levels. So they all start out as fan, and then after 10 stars, they move up their levels until they reach Living Legend, which I did not bring home. That one stayed at school. So I'm adding, the kids said to add bench. So we're going to go fan, and then bench is going to go right here. So we have another level. So basically, as a class, they earn stars, and you can kind of see underneath the pictures, those pictures there, those are the classes that reached Living Legend. I tell the students that their picture is going to stay on my wall until I retire. And underneath it are the color coded cards, and that's how they know what level they're on, and then they earn stars. So I give them stars for behavior, like as a class, if they reach a goal or if they're making progress. Like, let's say I have a class that talks way too much, right? We all have those, I hope. So if they do well and they're like on task talking, I might give them a star for that. I also do academic. We do class average goals on tests. And then if they reach that class average goal, if they beat it, then they get a star. And then they get a little reward as a class after each time they move up, which I need to revamp my awards because it gets kind of costly if like each class wants donuts, and I have classes of 36. So I'm not going to do, I probably won't do like where I have to pay for something until they reach like star or something like that. So I want to show you I already have this typed up. So if you got the teacher toolkit, any of those bundles, this is one of the teacher binder pages for consequences and rewards. And this is actually what I do in my classroom. So I already had it typed up for you. You just edit it yourself to fit yours. So rewards, I just went over the 10 stars. And for individual rewards, I like to they love the smelly stickers. I give that when they get an A on their test. Reward coupons, which is in the back to school bundle. And we give lead tickets. We're a Leader in Me school. So that's something else I can give. Emailing positive emails home, that's a really good reward to give. And yeah, so for consequences. So this one, make sure it fits, like you're using your school's consequences too. So everything is consistent. So I chat with them in the hallway first or privately and just give them an opportunity to fix their behavior. Most of the time they fix it, and so I don't have to do anything else. But if they don't, then I might move their seat. They might lose their privilege of working in a group. During a lab, I have a reflection sheet that they'll have to fill out. They have to sit out of the lab, fill it out, and I email it home. They might have to sit out of the activity, contact their parents, send them to timeout or a lunch detention. So it just kind of depends what they did. All right. And so now that we have our procedures planned, we can teach those when the kids come. We have our rules. We have our list of consequences and rewards that we can live with and enforce. So now let's talk about us as teachers. So we work really hard. A lot of us take homework and all of that. So one of my things, I want to help teachers be more intentional and prepared so you can be refreshed for any day of the week. And one way is to be intentional with our time. So routines include our own time. So on this workbook page, you can kind of brainstorm what you might do on each day. Hopefully you have a prep period. We have one prep period of like, I don't know how long our classes are, 50 something minutes. And then if you get to school early, then you have time to work there. If you stay a little bit later after school, you have that time. But the goal is to try not to take work home. So this was my schedule last year, and I'll probably just keep it the same. So on Monday, I'll do any like last minute prep for the week, and then I write out my newsletter. My son is in the background. Hold on, Joseph. Hold on. Close it. Okay, sorry. See, life at home, right? All right, so I write my email to my parents every week and I let them know what's going on. So I'll talk about that in the parent communication day. Tuesdays and Fridays, I spend most of the prep period grading. I'll also grade before and after school, just depends like how much time I have. Wednesday, I do those random tasks that end up on my to-do list because our Wednesdays are early release days, so my prep is a lot shorter. So I'll do those smaller things. Thursday, I'll plan with my teammate. We'll use that time to prep, maybe make copies and those kinds of things too. Fridays, I also prep to try to get ready for at least Monday. Excuse me. Emails, I email before and after school. I do check my email throughout the day, but I don't, I try not to email during the day because I'm working. But if it's something that obviously needs my attention, then I will email. So think about your routine, like all the different tasks you have to do, and pick a day or two. This is something you'll have to adjust as you get used to it, see what's actually working for you. But here's my little tip. If you must take work home, because I know we do, even if we do, there's weeks I have to take work home. So if you must take work home, try to bring home something that you enjoy doing so it gets done and it doesn't feel like work. I do not like to grade, so I want to make sure I do that at school. I don't mind planning and making things, so I don't mind bringing that home because that is fun for me. Okay, so let's go ahead. We're going to get into the homework. This is what your homework is. We're going to set up our expectations and routines, our procedures, and all of that. And then you'll share one of your classroom procedures or something that you're changing this year. And I want to show you the binder pages. Like I showed you one with the consequences and rewards. So let's go ahead and show you this. If you got the teacher survival kit, you can get ahead of the game and just type up your binder pages with your classroom procedures. So there's a page for your class rules and classroom procedures. This is what, these are mine, so you can edit this. So I have all of these procedures all typed up. And daily routines. This is something that I would put in there. This would be helpful for a sub just to give them an overview of what your class looks like, or it might even just be helpful for you to remember like what you want it to look like. So what does it look like at the beginning of class, bell work, when they're working, and at the end of class. So having like a summary of that, and then your consequences and rewards. So these are all going to end up in our teacher binder. So if you want to get a head start on that, that could be a good part, something to do for your homework too. And that is it. So hopefully by the end of the day or whenever you get to this, you will have finished reflecting on your current classroom procedures and routines. You'll have your procedures and routines all planned and written out. You'll decide on your rules, consequences, and rewards that you're going to do for the school year. And then you'll have a plan for your own routine to try to get work done at work. And that is it for day one. All right, have fun.